This tutorial is a brief tour of the Podcast application. If you do not have the Podcast application on your iOS device, you can download it from the App Store. It is a free app from Apple. To begin, launch the Podcast application. When you first get started using the Podcast application, you are likely to want to go to the Podcast Store. While it is referred to as a store, all of the items in podcasts are, in fact, free. You'll see many items from trusted developers as well as those people who just choose to have their voice heard. Podcasts can be a variety of file types: audio, video, and text files as PDF. You can browse through the featured selections, browse through by audio, browse through by video, or you could look at specific categories by choosing the menus at the top. There's also an opportunity to search the store. Once you've located a podcast that interests you, you can click on the title for the podcast channel to get more information. Grammar Girl is a very popular podcast from the Quick and Dirty Tips Network. You can choose to download episodes one at a time by clicking the download arrow next to each episode, or you can choose to subscribe to the podcast by choosing the subscribe link near the title of the podcast. If you'd like more information on the podcast, you can read its description, or you can read the ratings and reviews for each podcast, or see other related podcasts. If you choose to subscribe to the podcast, it will appear in your list of podcasts in your podcast library. By default, it will download the most recent episode of the podcast for you to view. If you'd like to see previous episodes, you can tap the Add Old Episodes icon to view the titles of the previous episodes. You can tap the little I icon to get more details about that particular episode. If you'd like to download episodes, simply place a check mark next to the episode or episodes you'd like to download and tap the Add icon in the upper right-hand corner. To listen or view the episode, simply tap the episode and it will view. You can also change some of the settings for each episode by tapping the Settings icon. You can choose to turn on and off the subscription. When the subscription is turned on, you will automatically get new episodes as they occur, and they will download to your device if you are connected to the internet. You can choose which episodes to keep, whether or not the episodes auto-download, the sort order and play order of the episodes. In this location, you can also mark all of the episodes as either played or unplayed. You can manage the podcast in your list by tapping the Edit button. The Edit button will allow you to either mark and/or delete podcasts in multiples. I can delete both of these podcasts, or I can tap Mark to either mark them both as played or unplayed. When I'm finished marking the episodes and choosing the feature, I can simply tap Done. If you'd like to share information about your podcast, you can tap the Share button in the upper right-hand corner and share the information about the podcast via mail, message, Twitter, or Facebook. You can also change the way your podcasts view on the screen. I have my podcasts sorted so that they view in a list on the left-hand side, and that as I tap a podcast title, the details appear to the right. You can also choose for them to show as icons on your screen. Another feature is to look at the My Stations button located at the bottom. My Stations gives all of the information about the stations that you have downloaded so that you can watch them in these types of orders. You can look at just the most recently downloaded items, or you can look at the unplayed items. You can also create an on-the-go playlist for the items so that you can reorganize them and set them up for a long trip or a car ride. You can also take a look at the items by looking at the top charts. Top charts works kind of like a radio dial. You can scroll through looking at different categories and then swipe up to see more. This is a great way to browse and look for new podcasts that you may not have heard of. This was just a quick brief overview of the Podcast app. I hope you get into it and enjoy learning new things with podcasts.